Hey everyone, I'm Tiffany Carter. Was gonna jump on here. Adrian asked me to do a little interview with myself about my career and what I do for a living. I decided to wear my uniform that I wear at work every day. Number one, because I didn't want to do my hair, so I did do my makeup, so you're welcome. Number two, just to kind of get the idea of we get to wear our PJs to work every day, and you don't have to do your hair because your hair stays up in a hat all day. So anyway, I am from Youngsville, born and raised, and lived in Raleigh for about 7 years in my 20s, and moved back to Youngsville in 2010 just to move back home, be closer to my family, and get a bigger house with a bigger yard for less money than in Raleigh. So I've been here back in Youngsville since 2010. I graduated from Franklinton High School in 1998. So yes, I'm 40. I turned 40 this year in June. What was high school like for me? I went to Youngsville Elementary all the way from kindergarten through 8th grade. And the Youngsville crowd at the time would go to Bunn High School starting in 9th grade. So I went to Bunn High School in 9th grade, and Franklin County decided that they had to redistrict all the high schools in the county, which at the time was only Franklinton, Lewisburg, and Bunn, to make them more racially balanced. So they decided to draw the line basically straight down 401, and if you lived on the Bunn side of 401, you got to stay at Bunn. If you lived on the Youngsville side of 401, you had to go to Franklinton. So it's kind of scary to have to move high schools between your freshman year and your sophomore year, but at least I was going with a group of girls that I had been in school with since kindergarten. So we kind of all went together, and I immediately did cheerleading there just like I had done at Bunn, so I was able to meet some of the Franklinton girls and just kind of work my way into the Franklinton crowd. And I had a great experience in high school, did cheerleading all through, graduated somehow 8th of my class, and also received class partier as my senior superlative. So somehow I received that and was able to be 8th in my class. I don't know. It worked out. So in my childhood, my father actually was chief of the rescue in Youngsville for about 25 years. So growing up my whole life, he went to rescue calls all the time. And if I was around, he would drag me along. I really wanted to go almost to every single call, so he obliged my obsession with it. So there were many times that I went to car wrecks and sick calls and people having heart attacks, and I was able to see all of it from a young age. I did fine with it, so I guess that's why he thought it was okay to take me to some of these crazy calls. So that was kind of my first inkling of how I wanted to go in healthcare, because no one else in my family was in healthcare, and that's the only healthcare related thing my dad did. He had a completely different career, and my mom had an office job. So I think that exposure is what made me decide I wanted to be a nurse. And once I decided I wanted to be a nurse in high school, I never wavered from that decision. I went to ECU straight out of Franklinton in 1998 and started in August, and started undergrad as hopefully going to be a nursing student. So I didn't take any classes that would not go towards my major. So that was a good thing. So I took all my classes that were all of my prereqs to go to nursing school. So I did all those. I applied to nursing school sometime in my sophomore year to start in your junior year, and I got waitlisted. probably because my grades were kind of mediocre my freshman year at ECU, because I had a lot of fun, like most people do in college. But I buckled down my sophomore year, but obviously there were people who made better grades than me. So I went ahead and applied to Pitt Community College because I knew I wanted to be a nurse. And whether that was going to be a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, either way, I didn't want to waste time. So I got into Pitt, moved out towards Winterville, where Pitt was, and took all of my little testing out there, and was ready to start in August. And in July, I received a letter from ECU saying that seats had become available and would I accept being in nursing school at ECU. So of course I said, absolutely. So I had to tell Pitt that, sorry, I'm gonna stay at ECU. Ended up staying there and continuing. I was in a sorority, so continued to be a sorority sister in Chi Omega and go to nursing school. And it was hard, I'm not gonna lie. Nursing school was hard, but you know, you just apply yourself and get through it. And finished nursing school in 2002. So somehow I went through ECU in 4 years. That was summer schools included. Took the NCLEX, which is a test you have to take once you finish nursing school. You have to take a test to be certified in whatever state you're in. But the NCLEX is a national test to basically assess what you've learned. I passed the NCLEX that summer and was able to start work in July of 2002. So, and then from there, I worked in the ICU at Rex Hospital, the Med-Surg ICU, from 2002 to 2008, so 6 years. And then to the point where I was a staff nurse for a while. I worked nights for 6 years, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I thought I don't know. I didn't really know if I wanted to further my career, but I didn't know if I did what I wanted to do. I had no clue what a nurse anesthetist was. Even early on in my nursing career, that's something I didn't really realize what it was until I was probably about 2 or 3 years into being a nurse. And I started researching it. I didn't really want to take the graduate exam, another test, and go back to school. I was comfortable doing what I was doing. I was charge nurse at times. I was making money, so did I want to go back to school and not make money for 2 years? But let's face it, nurses don't get paid for what we do. When I was an ICU nurse, the stuff I had to deal with, the patients, the families, the death, the stress, the physical stress, the mental stress. I mean, it was great and bad at the same time. It's hard to explain, but you have that adrenaline rush that you get from coding somebody, but you also have the sadness of seeing somebody in their last few minutes of their life. Or you get great stuff when you see patients recover from being really, really sick. So lots of emotions that you experience as an ICU nurse, and you just don't get paid for it. So I knew I wanted to further my career, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my friend that worked with me decided to push me to take the graduate exam and just see how I did on that, and then just to apply to anesthesia school and see what happens. So I went and shadowed one of the nurse anesthetists in the OR at Rex Hospital, and just to see what they did and see if it was something that I wanted to do. And I decided that it was, because I enjoyed how they were still able to take care of the patient, just like I was taking care of the patient in ICU. So I applied to school, UNC Greensboro, and I got into their master's program. And then once you're in that, you have to interview at the Raleigh School of Nurse Anesthesia. You basically sit just like I'm sitting in front of you, but there's about 12 people in front of me, physicians, other CRNAs, which is the abbreviation for a certified registered nurse anesthetist. And they asked you all sorts of questions, why you would be a good candidate. They asked you some clinical questions, like you were taking a test. It was completely nerve-wracking, and it was a all-day process. So, and they kind of scared the crap out of you before the interview on how if you needed to quit your job, there's no way you could work for the 2 years that you're in school, because school is like 60 hours a week. So you would have no income for 2 years. If you were in a bad relationship or in a questionable marriage, more than likely that was going to end while you're in school because of the stress. So get out now. Don't start anything new, like get married while you're in school. So yeah, they scared the crap out of me. But whatever, I was determined I was going to do it. So I interviewed, and about a month later I got a letter in the mail saying I was accepted. So and that was in the fall of 2007. So I started class the following August of 2008. So I had to quit my job in July of 2008 at 28 years old, and say goodbye to all my friends that I made in the ICU and start anesthesia school. So, I started anesthesia school in 2008, like I said, and could not work the whole time I was in there. So you have to take out school loans, personal loans, just to kind of get you through that kind of graduate program. It's now a 3-year doctorate program. It's something that they have just decided over the years to make it a doctorate program. Mine was a master's at the time, so we're grandfathered in. So thank goodness I was able to get through in 24 months. But anyway, school was very hard. You know, I was at the top of my game as a nurse in the ICU. I'm 6 years in, and then you go to anesthesia school and you wonder how, number one, how you never hurt anyone, because as a nurse, you followed orders. Doctors would say, do this, give this patient this, do this scan, and you would follow orders. That's what you did all the time. Or you would call the physician and be like, my patient's blood pressure's low, what do you want to put the patient on to get their blood pressure up? You know, so you were just following orders. As a nurse anesthetist, you treat all those problems by making your own decision. So it's very autonomous. You, in the operating room, your patient's blood pressure is low. Well, you just give them, you know about all these medicines and how all these medicines work. So you pick the best one to do the job, to bring their blood pressure down or make their blood pressure high. So that's what's completely different. And that's what's scary, especially in school, being able to make those decisions and know that you're the last person to make that decision. There's no one checking behind you. So, I mean, you can really hurt someone. So that's why you go to school for so long. And that's why it's a good idea to be in the ICU for a while before you apply to anesthesia school. So you kind of know how to make those decisions from seeing how different drugs work on patients. So experience helps. Obviously, book smarts do too, but experience always helps. So I got through school. I had no life except school. I met some awesome people. During that whole time, you kind of go to different clinical sites throughout mostly eastern North Carolina and central North Carolina. And you can kind of decide where you want to work. School is basically one long job interview if you decide to stay in the state that you're in. So I decided to come back to Rex Hospital, where I was since 2002. And it's a very fast-paced operating room. We call it a turn and burn place, meaning rapid turnover. Get this patient in, get this case going, get them out, take them to recovery, bring the next one in. So you got to be really fast and smooth at your game. So it was all very intimidating, being a brand new, fresh nurse anesthetist, to come in there to a fast-paced place like that. But you learn quick, and it's an awesome job. It's just, you know, to go from following physicians' orders all the time to doing my own thing and no one really checking behind me or telling me what to do. It's my sole decision now. Is very liberating and scary, but that's why I enjoy, and I'm still taking care of that one patient. So that's what I enjoy about my career, is I'm taking care of that one patient, the whole entire case. So what does a nurse anesthetist do? We go and pre-op a patient. So you go and see them beforehand, before their surgery, ask them a bunch of questions, learn about their health history, their social history, and to make sure that whatever anesthetic we give them, they will be safe. So once you do the pre-op, they come in for their surgery. Obviously, if any of y'all have had surgery before, you know, you get an IV. They might give you some pre-medications before your surgery, and then you get to meet me if you didn't meet me in pre-op. So I will meet you about 5 minutes before we go back to the operating room if I didn't see you in pre-op. And you have to establish trust in a patient very quick. So you have to be very personable and trustworthy and know what you're doing. So I try and get the patient's trust within that 5 minutes of meeting me, let them know that I'm doing their anesthetic, and I will take great care of them, and they'll wake up in recovery. And so I take them back to the operating room. We put all of our monitors on, so a blood pressure, a pulse ox, the heart monitor, and then we give them oxygen before we push medications through their IV to make them go completely to sleep. And then we put a breathing tube in and get all of that secured and make sure the breathing tube's in the right place, put them on the ventilator, and turn on our anesthetic gas, and that's what keeps patients asleep. So you usually go to sleep with propofol, which I'm sure y'all have all heard of due to Michael Jackson. And then once you get the breathing tube in and all that established, you turn on anesthetic gas, which is a gas that goes in while the ventilator's giving them breaths, and it keeps them anesthetized. So whatever case you're doing, you get the case done, you turn the anesthetic gas off at the end, and they slowly kind of wake up and make sure they're breathing good on their own. You take the breathing tube out, you move them over to the stretcher from the OR table, and you take them to recovery. And that's it. That's what I do all day, every day. All sorts of cases, of course. I do open hearts, I do endoscopy, I do appendectomies, GYN stuff, C-sections, you name it. Everything at Rex Hospital I probably have done anesthesia for over the past 10 years. So that's what a nurse anesthetist does. I can't believe I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been a nurse for 18. And I'm going to go through some of these questions to see if I missed anything. So I know one thing. When I was in high school, I can't remember the name of the teacher at Franklinton. She wasn't a permanent teacher there. She was someone who was kind of brought in, and she did a anatomy and physiology class. And I took that for one semester, and that solidified what I wanted to do. I enjoyed anatomy and physiology so much because I've always loved science. And so that definitely helped kind of put me on the right career path to be a nurse. And I was trying to see, some of the hard things to deal with was having no money while you were in school and having to depend on loans. And then once you get out of school, you've got to pay all your loans back. So depending on how much you borrowed will depend on how long it'll take for you to pay all of your loans back. And the average nurse anesthetist in North Carolina, I'm not sure what they make. It's probably around $150. I want to say probably about $150,000 a year, I'd say. I'll have to Google that and make sure, but I'd say I'm pretty confident in that answer. So it's definitely a lot more money from being a nurse. I want to say probably a nurse probably makes maybe $50,000. If you work nights, maybe $60,000 a year. So you're basically doubling your salary for 3 more years of school if you're a bachelor's degree nurse. And then I'm a master's degree nurse, but now it's a doctorate degree in nursing. So it's 4 years of undergrad to get your bachelor's, and then 3 years of anesthesia school to get your doctorate. So what would be my plan B? If I didn't get into anesthesia school, I'd probably still be an ICU nurse. I might have become a nurse practitioner, maybe. It's not really interest me, just I've never been a fan of going to a clinic and interviewing patients and listening to their lung sounds and then talking back and forth. And so not really doing any active patient care and giving medications and, you know, making sure they're breathing good. That's the stuff I like doing. So I don't know if I'd be a nurse practitioner or not. I'd probably be a meteorologist. And I know it's completely different than being a nurse, but I have a huge weather obsession. So if I had a plan B, I'd probably be a meteorologist, but that means a lot more school. So anyway, any advice for a middle school or high school student who maybe wants to become a nurse anesthetist? Middle school, just make sure you pay attention in math and science class. Those are the ones that will definitely carry you far if you're looking to be in the health field at all, any kind of health field, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, a phlebotomist, a dental assistant. I mean, any of that will help you in the long run. And in high school, I volunteered at when Franklin Regional was open in Lewisburg. I volunteered in the ER just as a volunteer and did all sorts of things. So that helped get some kind of experience under my belt when I applied to college. And you can also take classes in high school to become a nursing assistant. You would just be an NA1, which has different things that you can do as an NA1 versus the NA2. But you can do that and become a nursing assistant and make some money actually doing that in high school, and definitely would look great on your resume to get into nursing school. Obviously you want to make good grades. Those grades will come back to haunt you if you don't apply yourself and make good grades. So definitely in high school, make those grades, and especially in your science and math, if that's where the career path you want to go. And definitely when you get into college, apply yourself and make those grades, because you will not get into nursing school if they are mediocre to low. I think I just got lucky, or maybe my sophomore year really kicked it up a notch when I buckled down. So that would be my advice. Get into as many clubs as you can. That looks good on your college applications. So it doesn't matter if it's the Art Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, get in it. I was in everything that had nothing to do with nursing. I was in Spanish Honor Society, Art Honor Society, FFA. Obviously I was in National Honor Society. Gosh, I can't even remember all the clubs I was in. I tried to join as many as I could and have as many tassels as I could at graduation. So that was one of my goals. And other than that, I think I've pretty much covered all these questions. So if any of y'all have any questions for me, if you want to ask me anything about Franklinton, about growing up in Youngsville, about my career choice, college, ECU, all of that, you can email me. My email address is pirate, just like the ECU pirate. So PIRATE CRNA, that's what I am, a CRNA, at gmail.com. So email me any questions you have. I will answer them as quick as I can. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old, so it's very busy here at my house. My 7-month-old is actually sleeping, so I'm trying to do this during nap time, and my 3-year-old is at preschool, and my husband's at work. So I worked all weekend, so I was off yesterday and today, and then I picked up overtime Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because I got to make that money to support these 2 kids. So anyway, please email me any questions you have, and I'll get back to you. It was nice talking to you. Bye.